Hey guys, All in Crypto here, and welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, for another YouTube video. Apologies for no video yesterday. I was feeling a little under the weather. However, we're going to make up for it in this one. This is going to be your daily cryptocurrency market update. We're going to be going over what is happening with the cryptocurrency market. We're going to be looking at the dollar, as the dollar and what the dollar is doing is fueling what's going on in the crypto space. We're also going to talk about the stock market a little bit, as we are seeing quite a lot of earnings come pretty significantly down in the US. We're also seeing, I think Credit Suisse had a massive undershoot, an actual loss generated. And this is just reflective of the environment we're in. And you guys will know, and it's something that we've been banging on about, is that we don't think and we don't see the reasoning for the bottom being in just yet. And every time we have one of these moves, I want to talk about the Bollinger Bands, but I'll get rid of them for a second. Every time we have one of these sort of moves to the upside off the lows here, the same sort of thought process and emotions, you can see them on Twitter, you can see them in the comment section. People go, oh, maybe this is the bottom. Did we miss it? You know, is this going to extend? So on and so forth. And for me, from a trader's point of view, by the way, guys, we were long the breakout. We literally longed Uniswap, Maker, and what was the other one that we longed? Solana, I think. No, Atom. So there was 3 that we longed literally into this breakout in my Patreon. So we'll trade both long and short. We don't care. As long as the market moves, we're happy. When we're just going sideways, that's price action we don't want as day traders and sort of intermittent traders. From an investment point of view, though, this is not an area where I'm interested in spot longing, buying at this point. And the reasons for that, we've continued to emphasize and talk about how this is a liquidity game and that liquidity continues to get taken off the table, not just from the Fed, but we're seeing the ECB. This is going to be really significant because we saw some pretty outrageous moves. I don't want to say the word outrageous, but we saw a huge sort of pullback for the dollar. And this, of course, has fueled the cryptocurrency market and its rally. The problem that I have, and I want to overlay these charts, I do this for you so often, guys, but it's just so important. I've continued to stress that this is the most important chart that there is right now, is the Dixie, because it sums up the macroeconomic landscape and, you know, the moves that you're likely to get in your sort of subsections of the economy, or the I don't know what the right word would be, the sort of smaller markets out there, with the FX market being the largest one. So we've got Bitcoin in orange here, and then we've got the dollar. The correlation here is startling. Why do you think Bitcoin's seen this rally? First of all, and I'm going to fly back to Bitcoin, and I'll talk about the dollar and Bitcoin in just a second, because what do you think happens if the dollar reasserts? Let's bring up the Bollinger Bands. Let's go on the daily. Bollinger Bands are a great tool. I want to do a lot more sort of trading-focused videos where we get into a lot of these tools like the Bollinger Bands, Elliott Wave Theory, you know, Fibonacci's, Japanese candlestick analysis, so on and so forth, and just price action in general, because that's, in my opinion, the best indicator that you can watch is the price. It tells you everything you need to know. We had a real restriction of, or sort of constriction of volatility. And essentially, this is usually always followed by a break. Now, we had essentially just been going sideways, and we've really been in this range for a long time now. And what I want to do is bring up the volume profile and show you where we actually bounced off of. So if we remove the Bollinger Bands for now, and we'll get back into talking about them in regards to how we saw that constricting of volatility and sort of volume, and how this usually precedents a breakout. And this is an actual low volume breakout. This isn't a big players buying here to cause it to break out. This is just a sort of breakout in a very tight restricting range that's took you to the top end of your Bollinger Bands. In my opinion, you are going to really, really struggle, and we'll see it, to get above here. Okay. And I wouldn't even take it as far as 21,800. I'd take it as far as maybe this range here. This block here, where you've already come up and found it as resistance, you're going to struggle to get away from. And there's maybe some positive things here in regards to the fact that if you look at your volume profile, you can see how, you know, the volume profile is exactly where you bounced. Bringing the Bollinger Bands back on and actually getting rid of the volume profile now because we don't need it. you can see that this was going to break. When you have a constricting, I should say, just like over here, you have this area of constriction, so on and so forth. You get them all the time. Here, for example, was a great example. You usually get a break, and this is the break that we've had. It's found upside, so the buyers, the longs have won in this scenario. The real question for me is, given the macro backdrop, given everything going on now, does it have the momentum to see that further upside? Potentially, but where to? I don't think people long in here, just like people shorting here, is that attractive at all, in my opinion. And I think that this breakout, flying back to the Dixie, is, and we'll take the Bollinger Bands off for now, and we will add Bitcoin back on. I think that this breakout was largely sort of dictated to by the Dixie and the fact that it actually saw a roll. You've got bots that would have front ran this with Bitcoin, that they'll cross trade basically, and then you'll have the sort of momentum, because what people were looking for here was a break of this range. The break was to the upside. People will momentum chase that, and that's propelled it. And you can see that the Dixie is very much inversely. They're an inversely correlated chart. So when the Dixie rolls, and even today with this sort of up leg you see Bitcoin come down slightly. The problem that I've got is I believe that there's every reason, and today I think we're getting the ECB rate hike where they're essentially set to do another, what they're calling jumbo rate hike of 75 basis points, even though inflation is, the German PI came out at 45%. Their interest rate is nowhere near that. In fact, it's maybe, 1-2% of that. If you just go off the German PPI, which isn't that reflective of the overall sort of EU. And the thing I think we actually had Deutsche Bank did very, very well in terms of their earnings. So this may give the central bank, certainly the ECB, a bit of a reason to be a bit more aggressive. So when you understand what's going on with the dollar and you've got this kind of FX war taking place, it's because the dollar offers the greatest amount of safety right now, in my opinion. And it's done that through having a lower inflation rate than particularly the UK and the EU, and higher interest rates. And that's set to continue. The Fed, we're seeing this narrative, it's continuously there, and it's because people are trying to cherry pick the bottom. Let the bottom come in, guys. You'll see it. You're never going to be the first person through the door. And typically you don't want to be, because there's a lot of chopping that goes on before that direction is confirmed. Lots of people talking about a pivot. Well, we've said we will be able to see and actually front run a pivot, changes to a line chart, based on things like the 30-day federal funds rate. So this are the futures where people essentially bet and speculate on what the Fed funds is going to be. You can see we haven't seen a pivot show up here. What else have we got? We've got the yields, the US government yields, and we've actually got the euro dollars, which is another thing that we're looking at. Yes, we are seeing a bit of an uptick. This, remember, is going to play. You can actually overlay Bitcoin onto the euro dollars, and there's a good degree of sort of alignment there, certainly in the short-term moves. But we've not seen a pivot get priced into sort of markets yet. And we actually had a leak that the Fed were potentially going to do another 75 basis point rate hike this November. So that's when they're going to do another rate hike. We're going to have CPI before then. This is all economic data that you want to watch. If the ECB come out today and decide that they don't want to do a 75 basis point rate hike, well, that's going to see more strength to the dollar. We've shown you the correlation. If the dollar starts to pick its head up, what do you think happens to Bitcoin? And certainly if the dollar goes on to put in new all-time highs, today is going to be an interesting one, because I personally wouldn't long here. I'd rather wait. If we are going to continue to break to the upside, we did something like this and then see some sort of continuation, or we look to fade the move and bring it back down. But in my opinion, this is not long. If we look at sort of various altcoins, you've kind of had a break and now retest. And I think it's not going to be that long. I think essentially we're just stalling for that next leg lower. The stock market, even though Bitcoin has been going up, has actually been coming down somewhat. And this has a lot to do with the earnings. I don't know if I've got any earnings up on this page. I know Meta have had a bit of a bad day. We've also saw a number of other companies come out and not do too well at all. Credit Suisse was a really big one, but that's not exactly US. So we'll see. As earnings continue to roll out, we've got more earnings today. We've got some real mega corps coming out today. Some have been good, some have been not so good. I think the deeper into this recession that we get, the worse earnings become. And this is the real, I think, issue that we have right now, is we are still in a recession and things are set to get worse until we see that pivot and we see markets actually price that in, and the Fed certainly telegraph and signal that. As far as I'm concerned right now, people are just completely speculating on a pivot and hoping that they're right. Just like the individuals back here that were calling for a bottom, only for us to actually, spend significant amount of time below all these entries. Nobody would have bought here. If you look at the volume here, it was next to nothing. So people would have been really getting in here, and certainly on this. And we've actually spent a long period of time now below that, proving that those bottom callers were wrong then. And I believe they're going to be wrong again. Again, I could be wrong on my thesis that I don't think from an investment point of view. Remember, day trader will take long and short. Don't care. As long as the risk to reward's there and the price action is there and the movement is there and the percentages are there, we'll take that. From an investment point of view, don't want to touch this here. And I think to get in and speculate that this is a generational entry and that this is the bottom of the bear market and, it's all steam ahead and we're going to enter a new raging bull, for me, it doesn't seem that likely. I still think we've got significant pain to come, although we could be wrong. And if we are, hey ho, we maybe have missed the perfect bottom, which I don't think this is. And then we'll have to get up slightly higher, maybe somewhere around here or somewhere, certainly if we take this down. Remember, we were out of Bitcoin up here and many of our altcoins. There's some really good news actually in regards to crypto. UK lawmakers vote to recognise crypto as a regulated financial instrument. The lower house of parliament voted in favour of adding crypto to those scope of activities to be regulated via the proposed financial service and market bill, which already seeks to extend payment rules to stablecoins. So this is fantastic. This is what's coming. One reason we're such a big believer in the crypto space, long term, short term, yes, we're bearish, but that's because we think everything's going to go down, not just crypto, housing, even things like gold, the stock market. There's a repricing coming on and taking place, and it comes on the back end of liquidity continuing to go from markets into debt markets, into commodity markets and sort of general goods markets. But we still are massive believers that crypto really is a technological revolution. It's yet to see any kind of real significant adoption, and that's going to bring market cap with it, and ultimately, is the kind of direction I think we're moving into, and what the future very much is going to look like. So that's really what I've got for you in this video, guys. I think there's a number of things going on here. Personally, for me, I'm not going to trade until I see any kind of break here. We were in here in regards to trading altcoins because altcoins offer better ROI, but we didn't ride this whole move up. We did get out significantly sooner. Ultimately, I do think that further downside is still very much on the cards and likely in terms of from an investment point of view. Could this move continue slightly? Yeah, absolutely it could. There's no way we can rule that out. But I think the real key thing is, that sort of 1,200 level for me is really going to be the one to watch. And just, again, a very, very quick word is how many times have we seen in this sort of range, and this is very much still a range, rallies like this take place only for them to sort of fade and get everybody's hopes up. Markets are always leaning towards max pain, and what they really want to do is get you, on the side of being wrong. So what they'll do is they'll, cause some sort of a move like this, which is very low volume, not big players actually causing this. Lots of big players here, but they sort of stepped out the equation, and then they'll sort of revert on you and trap you in whatever position you're in. And we've seen this time and time again. Until this proves otherwise, you always want to be on the side of caution. All I've got for you in this video, guys, we are seeing the stock market look to potentially open slightly down. It closed down yesterday. Gold's down. Dollar is seeing a bit of a spike. Wouldn't really call this a spike. This could potentially just be support and resistance. Maybe the dollar goes a little bit lower, which would mean continuation in the risk on asset class to the upside. But we will see. The problem you've got, and this is the main thing to watch, and this is why we've said the dollar is the most important chart, is what happens if the dollar reverses here and actually goes on to put in new all-time highs. And there's fundamental reasons why it potentially may do that, looking for that 120 mark. We were always going to see resistance here. This is what we said time and time again, is the real question I'm continuously asking myself is when does the dollar take a break? Because that's going to allow us to position into altcoins and so on. All I've got for you in this video, guys. If you enjoyed the content, like us, would appreciate it as a comment, and I look forward to seeing each and every one of you in the next YouTube video. Have a wonderful Thursday, guys. See you in the next one.